Friends, fellows, countrymen, viewers of all types, anybody who came to this channel to watch this series of videos on Kansas football, what you see here is a virtual amalgamation of Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas, packed to the brim for senior day between the Jayhawks and the Oklahoma Sooners. The Sooners quarterbacked this year, of course, by Baker Mayfield. The reason I chose this game, NCAA Gamebreaker 2004, was because I remember another time when the Oklahoma Sooners came in as a national title contender with a Heisman-seeking quarterback, probably going to win the Heisman. And granted, this team didn't come into Lawrence. They didn't play KU in Lawrence in 2003, but 2003, Jason White, the quarterback of a vaunted great Oklahoma Sooners team, probably could have won a national championship game, but unfortunately sort of choked in two very key games, the Big 12 championship game and then the Sugar Bowl, which was played for the championship. So, yeah, an unfortunate end to that season, but there was a Heisman Trophy given to Jason White. This is the 2003 Jayhawks, coached by Mark Mangino, and sometimes Mark would pull stuff like this random fake punt here in the first quarter, and it works like a charm, baby, getting 10 yards on the fake punt, not to mention the first down. You know, KU tried to fake the onside kick on the first play of the last game at Texas. That was a bad game. That was a blowout, and I didn't watch very much of it until I went to a bar on Tuesday to watch the basketball game, and they were playing it side by side with the basketball game on the Longhorn Network for some reason, and we just kind of had to take our lumps and sit through the replay of KU losing to Texas. In 03, though, there was some more excitement around the program. We had a guy named number 4, Bill Whittemore, who was a really good quarterback for what he was. He played only about the first 5 or 6 games of the season for the Jayhawks before getting injured at K-State, and then he was able to come back and play the last 2 games against Iowa State and then in the Tangerine Bowl against NC State. The Jayhawks went 6-7, and most of that was thanks to the play of Bill Whittemore. He was a great KU quarterback. You'll still see people wearing the number 4 jersey if they got him in the stadium, because he was the guy that represented a real era of excitement around KU football. You know, it's been our problem that since the end of the Glenn Mason days, we've really had 2 functional quarterbacks. We've had Todd Reesing and we'd had Bill Whittemore, and those guys tend to get remembered at KU. For whatever reason, we got a quarterback problem, can't get a guy who can win multiple games. Right now we got this guy, Carter Stanley, who I think is better than the guy we were starting in Peyton Bender, but, you know, it's all kind of wishy-washy anyway when you're going to end up 1-11 right now. I think they're 1-9 right now, so there is still a vague possibility that they end up with single-digit losses for the first time since 2014. But, yeah, that would require, I think, beating 2 top 10 teams, or at least a top 10 team and a top 20 team at the very least. I don't know how good Oklahoma State is so much. I know they beat Iowa State last week and unfortunately kicked the Cyclones out of championship contention in the Big 12. Meanwhile, Oklahoma kicks a field goal here, a giant, like, looming field goal almost going over the net, the non-existent net. We don't actually have nets in Memorial Stadium. We just sort of let the crowd take their lumps there and get hit in the face with the football. That's a phrase that I've used twice now, take their lumps. And hey, good phrase, right? Halftime now, we are up, actually. We're winning, surprisingly, 7-3. Yeah, it's I ended up having to do sort of an abridged game of this because this game, NCAA Gamebreaker 2004, is not my favorite. It also takes an incredibly long time to get through a game, actually, in this. It took me, for like a 5-minute game, the clock starts and stops with such like regularity that it would end up taking me about like an hour to complete a game of 5-minute quarters. So I had to cut it down to 3-minute quarters. Still ended up getting a pretty competitive game of football there, by the way, juking a guy out and then immediately getting tackled. Bill Whittemore, the quarterback, and you gotta run a lot in this game because the pass engine, man, it's just not great. You'll see when I throw passes, and I've kind of stopped throwing passes at this point because they don't work. You end up just kind of lofting the ball in the air. Time like slows down as the ball travels, and then you've got to make a decision with your wide receiver how you're going to catch the ball. It's a little bit like the new Madden games, how they had the aggressive or run after catch mode here. As you'll see here, I do kind of an aggressive catch. I press the triangle button, but we end up dropping it anyway. It doesn't tend to work for me. For whatever reason, I have almost no success passing the ball in this game unless it's like a total fluke. And so I end up using a mobile quarterback like Bill Whittemore, who's probably your best guy to use in a game like this. You want a mobile guy who can get you some yards, and you want a good running back, which I kind of had there in Clark Green. Unfortunately, he couldn't give me the first down, so we had to go for the field goal, which is good. So we get a 7-point lead on the Sooners in the fourth quarter, actually, surprisingly enough. But they've got their Heisman winner, Jason White, at the quarterback, and he is making some magic happen. 2nd and 8. Well, I guess a 2-yard pass right there is not very much magic happening there, but they do go no huddle, and I made a critical mistake because I went to go check my if my recording software was working, and then this completely ridiculous play happens right here. The tight end makes the grab off of 2 tips from 2 players from 2 different teams and scrambles his way all the way to the end zone on a completely ridiculous play. I looked up and literally saw Oklahoma had scored. I thought I was still on the play selection screen. I thought I was good, but no, I was not. Oklahoma ties the game up on a completely ridiculous play. Well, look at this. Tipped by the receiver, tipped by the KU linebacker right here, and then caught by a different tight end. Those are 3 different guys whose hands had to come in contact with that ball for it to be a completion, and 1 man who had to run to the end zone to get it to get 7 points out of it. So KU, unfortunately, we're now instead of being up now in the fourth quarter, we have to kind of play for overtime, or maybe play for the hope of getting the first down in trying to continue and score here to win in regulation. But we're stopped on 2nd down and 11. Now in 3rd and 16, I'm sort of scrambling around in the backfield, and I overthrow my receiver, who dives in slow motion for a ball that was well out of his reach regardless of the speed of time. Yeah, this game is not great. I don't love it. And Jason White is really good and deserved the Heisman that he won that year. Unfortunately, that team, they choked. They really did. They played a horrible game in Arrowhead against Kansas State. They lost 35-7, and then played a horrible game against LSU in the Sugar Bowl, which I don't remember the score, but that was just a bad day. I had one friend who was an Oklahoma fan, and he was like not happy the day after those 2 games. And yeah, Oklahoma does win this one, though, on a late field goal, 13-10. Not the score we expect this weekend. I would say that Oklahoma's probably going to win this weekend, 40, maybe 50 points. They've got nothing to play for here in Lawrence, so maybe it's kind of a snoozer, and, we catch them napping a little bit, sort of like TCU a couple years ago. But yeah, I doubt it. I really don't think there's going to be much to be proud of in Lawrence on the field this weekend. Yet, still, we're probably going to stick with David Beatty and, have another year of that. So, we'll see how it goes. Regardless, I'll be there. Thank you guys for watching, and as far as I know, that's all.